So welcome to our fourth episode, the father-son innings, and this one I'm looking forward to, dissecting the draw. So it was at Old Trafford, Manchester. England completely dominated every session, and Stokes didn't want Jaddu and Wash together at the 100s, but in the end they did. We were actually at the fourth day in Manchester, there at the ground. So we saw the none for two, and then Gill and Rahul's epic partnership, losing no wickets in the afternoon and evening session, and Jaddu and Wash, what a Warriors performance that was. So it was a brilliant result in the end.
Good evening, one and all. Yes, as Sunil said, we were at the fourth day, which was a Saturday, Old Trafford Emirates Test match. It was great viewing. We were actually in the Sir Clive Lloyd stand, which was looking diagonally at the wicket, and we had the Indian dressing room directly next to us on the left. And what I really enjoyed was that this particular ground, you know, you're so close to the action in terms of some of the other grounds, the Oval and Trent Bridge, you're a little bit further away. But here, you know, it was almost felt you could see every player on that field, and you were very close to the action. So, as you mentioned, England were ahead for the first 3.5 days when WinWiz had England team 70% to win this game. However, India played it with a straight bat with their rearguard action, and over the next 5 sessions, apparently, they managed to save the game, which was a great effort by the whole team. Apparently Stokes' ego has been hurt, and I think he's hurting all over.
Physically and mentally. We were at the fourth day. We saw Stokes get his 100. I mean, look, I had a lot of respect. I still have a lot of respect for Stokes. I like his leadership. I like Bazball. I like how he plays the game, very aggressive. But what I didn't like was him asking Jaddu and Wash to shake their hand to end the game early. I think that didn't come across well with a lot of people. It wasn't sportsmanlike, and he knew what he was doing. He was saying, he wants to prepare for Thursday, let his players recover. But they got their 100s, and I think like when we saw Gill none for two, he was in the mood. He was hitting fours. He was proving a point with that second innings, wasn't he? He had a lot to prove. So I think it was just like the Australia match at the Gabba, I believe it was, where they held firm and Ashwin was there. I think Thakur was playing and Gill and Wash. So it was a brilliant game in the end.
So India managed to get 358 in the first innings. They all got in, but nobody went on to get a big score. There were no hundreds in the first innings. Everybody was saying that's a good score, but of course England went on to get a huge, I think the highest run score at Old Trafford against India, which was 669, and they managed to get a lead of 311 on the first innings. And England was just looking to bat once because they didn't really want to bat fourth on this, a deteriorating wicket. But their objective was just to bat once and obviously make India bat again with a lead of over 300 runs. They thought they had it in the bag. And of course, as you mentioned, on the fourth day, after Stokes had got his 100, there were 2 overs to go before lunch, and Wokes managed to get 2 early wickets, Jaiswal and Sai. In 1 over, so effectively it was, I think, 0 for 2, was it?
Yeah.
At lunch.
At lunch. Not at lunch, but that wasn't. It was like at lunch. It was like 3 for 2, maybe.
I think lunch it was either 1 for 2 or 0 for 2, and of course Shubman Gill and Rahul. So KL, Shubman, Washington, Ravindra, played really well, and they all achieved huge milestones in this game. And in the end managed to secure a draw for Team India and keep the series alive and kicking. Hopefully not literally though, because there's been a bit of bad temper between the two sides.
India don't take no shit anymore from England.
I think India were well within their rights not to accept Stokes' handshake at the end and carry on batting, because both the Indian batsmen, Jadeja as well as Washington Sundar, were, I believe, 85 and in early 90s. So the question is, if England had been batting and they had two players in a similar situation, would they call upon a handshake and prevent those two batsmen getting their hundreds? No, so you have to put that scenario, or the other way around too, and see what would have happened. And India followed the rules, and they were well within their rights, as I said, to carry on, and that's exactly what they did. And here we are. We're looking forward to the fifth and final Test match now, the Oval, starting Thursday, with a series, and there's still something to play for from India's point of view. Of course, securing a draw there will mean that they've drawn the series, which will be a great result.
A win there.
A win at the Oval will mean, they will have drawn the series.
Yeah.
So.
Dad sent me an article of Gautam when he was inspecting the ground and Gambhir, and he was just innocently looking at the wicket as you would, and then this idiot groundsman came up to him disrespectfully and said, "Oh, you can't walk on it." And Gambhir, I actually didn't like Gambhir before because he had beef with Kohli, but now I do like him because he stands up for. He's like I say, he's not going to take any shit, and Gill's like that as well. So talk to me about Gambhir saying we're well within the rights. Who the hell are you to tell me what to do in that instance?
Well, the situation is India are given as good as what they get. There's been a lot of sledging behind the stumps, and you've been hearing on the stump mic what's been going on in terms of when the Indian players have been batting. And I'm not saying that the Indian players don't do it, but that's all part of the game. I see it in the England-Australia games, and that's the psychology which is utilised and plays a huge part in most professional sports. And as long as you don't cross the line, it is fine. But in this instance, I think Stokes was disrespectful. At the end of the day, when he did eventually manage to shake the hands of Shubman Gill and Ravindra Jadeja, he couldn't even look at them in the face, and instead he shook their hands and he looked elsewhere. And you can see photos of that. And I thought that was totally disrespectful of him. He's a professional sportsman. He's been the English talisman, and frankly, without his performance in this game, England wouldn't have been where they are. So, from his ability point of view on the field, he does. He's the best all-rounder in the world, and England have got currently the best batsman in the world in Joe Root. They've got the best all-rounder. They've also got probably the best captain, but I think. After the game, when India decided to not shake his hand and carry on playing, I think that was a letdown from his point of view, and he will analyse that, but that will fire him up for the last Test match.
Do you think he will learn from that and take it on board? I think he's the kind of character to take things in his stride.
I think that's not just coming from him. Maybe it's coming from management. McCullum said after the last Test match and so on, when Shubman came out with his conference before the match and said, basically, your openers failed to open the innings and they were 90 seconds late. And I think, ever since then, which is true. The fact is, they didn't make it on time. They were 90 seconds late, and England need to accept that and learn from it. And they haven't denied it, but ever since then, I think there's been this attitude problem, and in India have been given back as good as they got, frankly, and they're not going to stand for any of it. So it will spice things up certainly for the 5th Test match at the Oval starting on Thursday, and I can see a number of changes for both teams.
Yeah, before we talk about that Test match going forward, so India were well behind this game. We were at the game in Manchester, 311 behind, and you were saying runs didn't matter, but the runs did matter in the end because they got the lead in the end of about 100. Then that means England would have needed to bat. So I like the way you said that this time they were playing aggressively, because I didn't see all of the 5th day. You were saying when the balls were going to be hit, Jaddu and Wash, they were going for it, right? I saw some of it.
They were showing a lot of intent this time. Yeah. This is what I said. Whereas when the last game, when they were looking to just play out, trying to secure 22, 23 runs, there was no intent from either any of the late order batsmen. This time round, there was intent, and the bad ball was put away. And that's how they got to play. All these players also play IPL and so on, and when they need to play into a T20 cricket and so on, they should do it. And it's not a question of just sitting there and defending. And I think that was wrong. And maybe management did speak to them on that aspect. And the outcome was very different in this game. Although it was a draw, it was almost like a win for India from the position they were in. First 3.5 days, they were one in the game, and they managed to get a draw out of it, and it meant so much. And particularly to Shubman Gill, who demonstrated as a young captain to come back from that adversity and score another brilliant 100, and now has got 400s in the series, and could overtake Sunil Gavaskar, because he's only around about 40 runs, 50 runs behind now, with 2 innings to go, and I think he will overtake, and there's a possibility he might get 500s.
In his first series as captain.
So he's still learning on the job, and if he's scoring runs, and if he can get a 2-2 draw out of this series away from home, then that will be an absolute great result for him personally, and also Team India.
When we were watching it, so we saw none for 2. I was very disappointed, like Jaiswal getting a route, luckily just catching it on the second time. Sai unlucky, with he was trying to leave the ball. I think he battled well in the first innings with the 61, so I think he should retain his place. He's the future, instead of Karan Nair. I think England, it was just funny, like England thought they had the game completely out of their, they had it completely won, and for them to absolutely, for India to draw this 420 for 4 in the end, coming back, it was absolutely brilliant. I can't put any words on it. It must have been quite emotional when Jaddu and Wash got their 100s. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, well, by that time, I think most of the English supporters had left the ground, and Harry Brook was bowling lollipops, as they described it. I don't know what flavour they were, but certainly, bowling at 39 miles an hour, just basically, Stokes had said to them, let them get their 100s, and then we can go off. If I remember, there were still 10 overs left before in the last hour, and frankly, I think it was farcical. When people say it's farcical, for me, it was farcical from the English point of view. There's nothing farcical about what India were trying to achieve here. It was all about, what England were trying to do, and that was farcical for me. They didn't have a clue, and instructions came from Gambhir, carry on playing, Shubman Gill, and what they did was in fact just in my view. And Sir Alistair Cook even said that both batsmen, deserve to get their hundreds, and why not? And that's what Shubman Gill said. At the end of the day, they work so hard, and why not? Why shouldn't they get their hundreds? So, I think it's fair and just. Most of the England team don't think so, but that's hard luck.
Sore losers.
That's hard luck for them. In terms of the changes, possible changes for the fifth Test match at the Oval, I can see 3 changes coming in. Looks like there'll be for Akash Deep coming in for Pant, who's clearly injured. Arshdeep coming in for Kamboj, and Kuldeep coming in for Thakur. And of course, Rahul to keep the wicket instead of Pant, which means they can bring one extra player in.
I still think they'll play Jarrell, because Jarrell's going to keep and he can bat as well.
So I would like to see these 3 changes for the last Test match, and clearly there will be changes from the England point of view. I think Gus Atkinson will come in for Archer or Vokes.
Not Archer.
Archer, I think, will be dropped because he's still coming back from injury. For him to be playing 3 Test matches in a row, I think is very unlikely.
Do you know who's?
And Vokes, I think, is or Bryden Carr certainly, who had a poor game, will be replaced too. Jamie Overton has come into the squad. Overton. So I think he will come into the fray. As far as their spinner, obviously Dawson, will play the last game.
But talk to me about how ineffective Dawson was. He did alright with the bat, but it's not what he was in for.
Well, Dawson came in. This is his first Test match after 8 years, and although he picked up a wicket in his second over in the first innings, I think the only wicket, but second innings, if I remember, he bowled almost 50 overs, but he didn't get any wickets. But Stokes was saying to him, why is he not using the footmarks? A bit like the last Test match when Jaddu was doing something similar and wasn't using the footmarks outside the off stump, and Dawson.
That was the first match.
Yeah, and Dawson did the same. So question marks as to whether he was able to achieve the control, but he didn't manage to get him any wickets in the second innings, which on a 5th day, which England were clearly looking for him to do. So there's no other changes. I think they will retain him and give him a second go, because they have to make a decision who's going to be their number 1 spinner for the Ashes series. And at the moment, I think the toss is between him and Bashir.
Well, he's old now as well. He's 35.
35. I mean, the positive with Dawson, he of course came back, and England had a long batting lineup, batting right till number 11. So with Dawson playing, it gives them the extra sort of batting. But of course, they still need a bowlers who can take 20 wickets to win a game, and that's where they need to get the balance right. But the key is Stokes going to be fit for the last Test match? We know he was struggling. I know for a fact that he will play, even if he's not 100% fit. The question is, can he deliver? Can he deliver in terms of batting and bowling on this key 5th Test match? With if his fitness is not 100%, and so we look forward to the game in Surrey at the Oval beginning on Thursday, and it keeps the series alive, and everything is still to play for.
So we were actually at the game, as I mentioned, in Manchester. It was brilliant to be there and see the atmosphere. Walking around the ground, the campus. Actually, it's so different in person. We were sitting, had a good view. It was at an angle. Saw Archer. We saw Justy Baez sitting there. even though these freshies were shouting at him, he still didn't hear us. Still didn't he? So it was good. We saw Arshdeep warming up, and they said he was injured, and he didn't look injured to me. He looked like he was bowling well.
Well, Arshdeep was warming up, bowling well, and I saw Akashdeep was warming up and so on. So that's why I think both will be included in
But what I'm saying is, if they said Arshdeep's injured, he didn't look injured to me. He was hitting the wicket, so we actually had the game. We saw that. It was brilliant to. We weren't sitting in the rowdy stand, the Barmy Army, like that would have been the worst. So we were sitting in more of a quiet stand. It was really nice to actually see that the weather was perfect. A bit of sun came out. We saw Gill's drives down the ground, Rahul, and it's different watching the game live, isn't it, than on TV.
Yeah, it's nice to see some of these players warming up during the luncheon and the tea breaks and so on. In fact, even Kuldeep was there warming up, catching practice and so on. So this is all in readiness to bring them into the fifth Test match, and I think that's what was happening. They're put on their courses to make sure that they're fit and ready, and to come into the fifth Test match, because don't forget there's only 3 days between the last Test match and the last one. So
but how is it to watch it live though?
It's a quick turnaround, but watching the game live and the atmosphere was great, and it's probably a 50-50 crowd in terms of the support from each side, which was nice to see. But I really enjoyed watching the game at Old Trafford, and we had a really good seats in our stand, and so let's hope that the fifth game, also manages to capture everything the first 4 matches have delivered so far, and every single Test match has gone into the fifth day, which has not really happened in a lot of the previous series.
You said it'll be over in 3 days.
Well, after England got a lead of 311 and they lost those 2 quick wickets before lunch, I thought the game would finish on the 4th day when we were there. But
you thought the game's done. I said there's still hope.
But the rearguard action which India put up, as I said, batting almost for 5 sessions, was really something worth commenting on, and you have to applaud all the effort put in by all the batsmen who were there and who managed to secure that draw. So it was a great team effort.
Talk to me about the bravery of Rishabh Pant to come out for his innings. When everyone was saying, he wouldn't bat, there's no way he's going to bat. We saw him in his whites. What a warrior for coming out, scoring 17 more runs for his team. Doesn't matter how much he is. Like what a man.
Well, as I said before, this is a team game, and it's not all about individual milestones. Initially, I think in the first Test match where India lost at Headingley, having had 5 individuals score hundreds, but nobody went on to get a big 100. Was it a case we've got 100, we've done a job, and then we'll go off the field and applaud ourselves? That is not the case. You've got to score big and carry on and play for the team. And this is where I think Joe Root, is the number 1 batsman for a reason. When he gets in, he always goes big, and he carries on and on. He doesn't give his wicket away, and that's the difference between the best batsman in the world and somebody who's number 3 or 5 or number 10 who's got his 100 and says, yes, I've done my job, and then I'll go and have some rest. And it's not all about personal milestones. You've got to think about, I'm in now, and you've got to deliver. England were thinking 669, the highest score at Old Trafford. We don't have to bat again, and we got a lead of 300 plus, and that should be sufficient. But India played well on this occasion. Let's see what happens at the Oval now. It's all to play for, which is very pleasing, and something we're looking forward to, because there's something in this game for both teams, and I'm pleased to see that's the position we find ourselves in the series. And frankly, in the 4 Test matches, I think the results could have been very different. Coming in, India could have won the first 3, and they had the opportunities. And as I mentioned before in the previous podcast, India won more of the sessions, but when it's been the key pressure points, this is where England have won those pressure points. So that's been the difference. In this game, it's India who won those big, large pressure points and managed to keep England out with the straight bat. And let's hope that continues.
Yeah. So to summarise, brilliant performances from Jaddu, Wash, Gill's innings. He had a point to prove with what he was. He was getting booed. We were at the ground. He was getting booed when he came in, and I like how he speaks his mind. Punt, his heroic innings. Yeah. He also got 3 wickets. I think in the first innings. Wash got a couple of wickets as well. So I was saying that that Wash should be sit out, but he proved me wrong. Proved a lot of people wrong. I know he done well in Australia, and even Brooke was making that comment. Were sledging him, saying, you should get an early lunch, Washy," and then he had the last laugh in the end, didn't he? So Brooke, you can keep talking all you want, but these Indians, the Indian players now, from Kohli, Gangu started it, Gambhir, Gill, they don't take no shit, they'll give it right back to you. So we look forward to the Oval, and Bumrah. I heard Bumrah is probably going to be out. Because I think for his back, he's got some safeguarding it.
Well, at the start of the series, the Indian team was saying that the Bumrah is likely to play a maximum of 3 Test matches, which he's already done so. But the fact is, because they're still within the grasp of drawing the series, having had a rest of 3 days plus an extra 2 days where he didn't bowl. Because don't forget, India only bowled once, and they didn't have to bowl second time round in this instance. So, with the possibility of 3 days plus the extra 2 days rest, 5 days, they may take a chance and play him.
They should play.
Because it's a must-win test for India. So, and generally, I think the wicket at the Oval is a more bouncier wicket, which will suit his bowling. So. I'm still in favour of him playing in the 5th Test match. They will take a chance, but they'll leave that decision. It'll be a last call till the last minute, and decide. They're not going to give away their team to the opposition early on.
It's definitely better than Gamboge. What a waste of addition that was.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was the right move. To bring a brand new bowler in the 4th Test match. The experience and the big occasion and so on. I think the timing wasn't right. He's one for the future, clearly, but to bring him in the series, then I think even somebody like Prasidh Krishna could come in his place, because he's played a couple of games. So you need a little bit of experience just to bring somebody. I heard that he wasn't even in the squad for that Test match. He was, he wasn't even part of the squad, and yet he was then called up, to bring himself in. So he wasn't even in their minds, and I'm wondering whose decision that was to bring him in and include him. I'd be interested. I'm interested to know that, but anyway, I'm sure we'll find out. For now, it's over and out. We look forward to reviewing the last Test match of the Oval shortly.
Yeah, and we had a special guest today as well. We had Mango joining us as well, so he's joining us.
Mango's been enjoying the cricket, with us.
We'll catch you in the next episode. Peace.
Cheers all.